Welcome! In this video we're going to learn to play Deep Rock Galactic and do a solo playthrough. So down at the table I've set up for Mission 1, which is New Darkness, New Fortunes. And this game is a dungeon crawl. We're going to be rolling some dice, hopefully killing some monsters, and survive through the scenario. So their overview is choose the mission, set up the board, deploy your dwarves, or in this case one dwarf and BOSCO. Work together and fight your way through the caves, complete mission objectives, and make it back to the pod before time runs out. Before we go into the rules, we'll go over the map setup. So basically what we have going on here, we've got our map, which is putting tiles down based on the scenario. All the black spaces in here is basically walls that we can dig through. Down here we've got some pits, so you can see just place those on top of the tile. Up top we have space for different decks of cards, and down at the bottom we basically have our tracker. Once this goes through, and if it were to move off this spot, our time has run out and we've lost the game. So other ways we can lose is if we go down, BOSCO can come revive us once, but after that, if we go down again, we failed our mission. And success is based on completing the goals of the mission that we'll go over here in a sec. First, finishing our setup. Up top, we're going to have a deck of event cards. So just different things that can happen between our turns and the enemies. Most are going to be bad. Some might be good. So we'll give this a quick shuffle, and I'll just place it up that way. Then we have a stack of cards for monsters swarming out. And for the first scenario, it's going to let us know to take out the Praetorian and the Oppressor. But all the others are just going to give directions on new creatures to come out and attack us. Here's exit 1 and exit 2, but basically monster entrances there. So give that a quick shuffle. Then that's a spot to put all our resources we collect. And the version I have has a miniature that we can put those in, but it's a lot easier just to put them out on the board so we can see them. But it's a lovely mini, so we'll display it there. Then we have a spot for rock and stone cards, which are going to be special one-time use events we can use throughout the game. Then we have a drop pod spot, so we can replenish supplies. Then they don't have a spot for it, but we have a deck of throwables, just like you would think. Grenades, things we can throw, so one-time use, giving you a target and range. And then we also have one more stack of cards, which are secondary weapons that we can choose from. So basically the weapons are going to show us what dice we roll, how many of that die, and the range. And they've got a spot for a upgrade, or we can overclock our weapon by spending a gold in an action to flip it over. It's going to give us access to 2 more ammo, usually more dice, and another spot for an upgrade. And we'll get to choose one of those before we get started. And then off screen, I've got some more tokens and all of our dice. We do also have a stack of cards going over each of the monsters and their abilities. So it gives you a quick diagram of what it is, their health, their range, movement amount, what happens when you roll their attack dice. And then some of them will have resistances to different dice. So for each die shown here, if we attack with a certain type, they're going to take 1 less hit from each of those dice. And they are from their initiative order, so grunts would go first, and then wardens would go last. So that's the basic setup for the maps. Then we get into our mission book. And for mission 1, New Darkness, New Fortunes, it's given us some flavor text, our objectives, mission specific events, and how we set the map up. So you can see here, we've got all these big map tiles placed. We put some pits down in certain locations. We have our exits 1 and 2 where they're shown there. Some stalagmites, we've got those placed. And we have 3 grunts that start on the board. And they're showing our drop ship up here. So it's got a spot on there for each of the 4 dwarves. And I chose to go with the gunner, so he will start there. Now when you're playing solo, you have the option of going, I guess, true solo, where you pick one and you get help from BOSCO. Or you can choose not to use him and use multiple dwarves, so either 2 to 4 that way. Then it's also letting us know the basic setup, so it's letting us know which gems to bring in. So I've got 5 of the greenish gem, 2 gold, 2 red. They have their own special names, but those are the ones I'm going to remember. Then we have some bugs and 3 other items there that are the apoca blooms. And the green ones are called the morkite. And the way these get separated, we're going to take each of those tiles, randomize them, and basically they will get placed where they show these lights on the map. So we'll give those a shuffle and start placing those out. And then for these, we've got a little bag to put them in to help randomize those. So give it a nice shake. And it's showing 1 going in that spot, 2 there, 3 at the bottom, and then the other 3 over here. So I'll just start up that way and work our way clockwise. So we've got the morkite. Let's see, another one. Gold. Harder to get out of there than you would think. Oops. There was 2, another gold, and then the other 3 go in the order they fell. All right, so we've got our board set up. So our flavor text: Saddle up, dwarves. Recent tectonic activity on Hoxus 4 has opened up a brand new sector for us to explore and exploit. Recon drones have reported the location of several morkite deposits in a shallow cave system with some precious apoca blooms. This is a straightforward mission: descend into the cave system using a drop pod, mine 5 morkite and 3 apoca blooms, then get out of there before every beast on the planet wakes up and starts hunting you for breakfast. Parts of the cave system will require you to use your traversal tools, like the platform gun, grappling hook, and zip lines, unless of course you prefer digging your way through the soil to get around the deep pits. Good luck down there. So once again, our objective: we need to get 5 morkite, 3 apoca blooms. Before starting, remove the oppressor and praetorian cards from the swarm deck, which we've already done. Then our mission specific event will be cards in the event deck that just says, hey, do the mission specific event. It's a glyphoid grunt nest. Place a grunt at each tunnel exit, which will be these areas there. So with that, then we can move on to our character board. Nice dual layered. So we've got our primary weapon, spot for a secondary weapon. We start the game with 5 ammo. Every time we shoot our gun, we'll lose one of those. This is letting us know it's got a range of 5. When we shoot it, we get 3 bullet dice, or the green dice. Successive attacks are free actions, pay only the ammo cost. So after we spend an action and an ammo to shoot, we can then just keep shooting as long as we spend tokens there. We don't have to keep spending actions. Then our special ability, every dwarf has those. So we've got a zipline launcher. Spend an action to place 1 or more zip lines adjacent to your space. So that's going to help us cross here, so we can spend an action if we were sitting there to place those. And then for movement, that counts just as 1 going across the hex. So if we were there, we could go move 1, 2 to end up here with 3 gems around us. Then the other one is a shield generator. Spend an action to place a shield token on or adjacent to your space, and basically for that turn, we can't be attacked, take damage. But that is a one-off. The only way we get this back is if we collect things from the drop ship. And then we have 5 health, which can go pretty quickly. Then our secondary weapon has 3 ammo with it. After we get it and upgrade it, that'll unlock those 2 spots for ammo. And this is the gun I'm choosing to go with, so it is recommended you get a different colored type weapon. So with the experimental plasma charger, we're rolling 1 red die at a range of 4. And after it's upgraded, it's 1 red die, but it's going to be a multi-space damage. And let's see, what else do we need to talk about for him? I think that's it for the basics. Like I said, I'm not going through everything. We'll see what happens during a playthrough. Just give you the basics so you know what's going on. So real quick, looking at our tokens we've got a loot bug out there. It's a harmless creature with a great appetite for minerals. So if we whack it over the head with our axe, we'll definitely get some gold and maybe something else. And the other one is the Apoca Blooms, which we collect them by just walking over. So the way these work is once us or Bosco gets adjacent to one of these, they'll flip over and we can decide if we want to move on top of it or not. Our turn summary. So turn summary for 2 to 4 players. And then for solo mode is basically we have all these for our turn. And after we take our turn, Bosco gets to take 2 actions. Then we get an event. So we can move up to 3 spaces. We cannot move, attack, and continue that move. We move 1 space. Then if we attack, we've lost the other 2 spaces. So movement, attacking is using our weapons. We need to make sure we have line of sight and range. So checking range is just counting the hexes. Line of sight, basically most miniatures are going to block your line of sight, except for, of course, things I have on the board. These guys are short enough, they are not going to block your line of sight, and the same with Bosco. But if we had some other miniatures in the way, they would block this line of sight through them. And you determine line of sight from any spot in your hex to any spot on the other hex. If you can go through that without going through something that blocks it, you have line of sight to it. Pickaxe, it's going to do different things for us, but basically we can use it to attack, dig, some rock cutting, so destroying a stalagmite, destroy a wall for digging, farming, harvesting tokens, and then mining, collecting minerals. We can throw our throwables, don't need line of sight, only the T symbol must be in range. Overclock a secondary weapon to flip that over. Just takes an action and spending a gold. Call down a supply pod with 3 nitra, which are the red gems, and they can be substituted with gold. So that brings this down in any space that we can see, and once we get next to it, we can spend an action to pick up some supplies. So collect supplies, exchange supplies, assist, standing up yourself. If we get knocked down, it takes 2 actions to stand up because this armor is heavy and we haven't done enough sit-ups to get our core nice and strong. Help a fellow dwarf if they're down, that's an action. Of course, we're playing solo, so he can't help us stand up, but he can revive us once, which is the next action. We can play our rock and stone cards for free, then we go to the event phase after. Bosco does his action, so he's got movement, pickaxe, his machine gun, rolling 1 bullet die, or a rocket launcher. He can give up 2 actions to roll a red die, revive us, and play rock and stone cards, then going to the event phase. So we've already picked up our secondary weapon, so we can get this out of the way. We also get a throwable. So we've got a corrosive bomb. All targets inside the blast radius suffer 1 damage. So that's letting us know it's just got a range of 4. Wherever the target is, it's doing 1 damage to that target and everything adjacent to it. And we also get one rock and stone card. If you don't rock and stone, you ain't coming home. So that's going to allow us to re-roll the mining die. And then I guess the last thing for setup is there's different difficulties here. So you can see 1, 2, and then 3 through 5. So the farther you start over means you're closer to the end and quicker to spawn points. So 1 and 2, fairly easy. 3 just goes there, and then 4 and 5 has special abilities. I'm just going to start at 2. And with that, I believe we're ready to get started, so you can just see how the game plays. And we do have a player aid card going over our actions. Basically, we get to take 3 actions, then Bosco gets to take 2, then we get the event card and try not to die. So the first thing we're going to do is a move action, so we can move up to 3 spaces. We can move through our friendly characters, we just can't end our turn on them. So I'm going to move 1, 2, which gets us next to a tile, and it gets us off of the dropship. So as soon as we get off the dropship, it flies away. It will come back to pick us up once we have met the objectives, which is collecting all these green and the 3 other tokens that we need out of these 5 hidden. And the other thing is when we get next to this, get to see what it is, and that's one of the tokens we need. So for my 3rd movement, we're going to move on top of that, which means we automatically pick it up. So normally you can just store those things in there, but I like seeing what I've collected, so I'm just going to hold those out. So that was our first action. Our second action, I think we're going to come this way. So 1, 2, flip that over so we can mine that. But I want to just move on it. We can't just pick it up for moving on it. So that was 2 actions. And then for our 3rd action, we're going to shoot at those. So because of our gun, means we're going to get 3 green dice and we lose some ammo. So I'll bring a dice tray in here. We've got our 3 dice. I think we've got 2 blanks on this, and everything else does 1 damage. Those little guys there, grunts, they have a health of 1, so if we get a hit, they go away. So we roll dice. I've got 2 damage to assign. I'm going to put the first one on that one, second one on the other one, and we'll assign this one that does no. So these 2 are going. So we've done our 3 actions. So now Bosco, he's got a movement of 3. So he'll go 1, 2, 3. Then he's going to shoot right there. He gets 1. And he took out that one. So now we go to the events. So we'll draw an event card. Unsettling rumblings. It's just my stomach. Increase the swarm threat by 1. So we'll move that up. If this didn't trigger a swarm, draw another event card. And since it did not land on one of those, did not swarm, so we get another event. Next one, don't go too close. So we place an exploder at exit 2, then all other creatures activate. So he wants to go to exit 2, so we'll place him right on that spot. We don't have any other creatures, so nothing else happens. But what he does, he's got 1 health, he's got a range of 1, and a movement of 3, and a resistance to the red die. And when he attacks, he rolls the red die, but when we go to the main rule book, when he attacks, while adjacent to a dwarf or sentry gun, It explodes instead, destroying itself and dealing explosive damage to creatures, drawers, and the sentry gun on all adjacent spaces. Drawers and the sentry gun ignore the scare result. Killing an exploder will detonate it as well, applying the same destructive effect to all adjacent spaces. And with that, that reminds me I should speak a little bit more on BOSCO. So in solo mode, you can choose to play with one dwarf in BOSCO or control multiple dwarves as if you were playing a multiplayer game. But BOSCO, when you start the game, he goes adjacent to the drop pod. He's a useful sidekick because it cannot be attacked by creatures and never runs out of ammo. It does not block movement or line of sight. Can't pick up minerals or tokens. However, it can be used to dig out caves, reveal pickup tokens, and creatures that dwell within. If it's within range, BOSCO can also provide combat support using reaction attacks, just like another dwarf. And in solo mode, with only BOSCO and one dwarf, you may play rock and stone cards on yourself, no matter what the card says. And after you've carried out your 3 actions, but before you draw an event card, BOSCO carries out his 2 actions. So movement goes up to 3 spaces, and he's flying, so he ignores all the other stuff. We can use him for a pickaxe, for adjacent walls, stalagmites, loot bugs, red sugar, and creatures. He's got the machine gun that rolls 1 bullet die at a range of 3. Rocket launcher rolls the red die, range of 4. No area effect, single target only. And activating the rocket launcher uses up both of his actions, and he's got a one-time revive force, and after he revives us, he is destroyed. Alright, so we had our first turn, did the event card, so now we get to move on. So for our first action, we're going to use his zipline launcher and place this. Then our second action, we're going to move. So that's going to be 1, 2, flip this and see what it is. And then for our third action, we're going to break out our pickaxe, and so I think this has 1 blank on it. Then we have 2 with 2 axes, and the rest are singles. And we got a single, and I'm going to destroy this stalagmite. And when that happens, we get our gem die, so we have options of getting gold, or the red ones, or some blanks. And we found some gold. So we'll place that there. When we move on it or through it, we'll collect that. So we place the zip line, moved, and hit this. So we are done. Now we're putting a lot of faith in a friend here, so he's going to move 1, 2, 3, and then take a shot there and succeed. So 1 hit blows him up, affecting adjacent spaces, so nothing happens there. So moving on, draw an event card. Creature pileup, place this card on top of the swarm deck. When the next swarm activates, discard this card and draw 2 swarm cards instead of 1, placing all creatures from both cards before activating them. Nastiness. And we have a swarm coming up right there. Alright, so for our first action, we're going movement. So 1, 2, pick up the gold. Second activation, we're going to see if we can collect them. We rolled a double, so we do get both of them. And for mining there, we gave us more options for movement on. we moved, chop some things up, and I'll move one more time. And we'll use BOSCO to move and try to take care of that. Did not succeed. So, event, ouch. Movement on a cave ceiling releases some minerals. A piece of nitra drops on your head. Good thing you have a thick skull. Collect 1 nitra. Nice. So it fell from above, hit us on the head, and bounced into the mule. Then back to our turn. We're mining for this, and if we get doubles, we'll hit that too. So action 1, we will pick this up, place another spot, then we'll try to take care of the stalagmite. Missed. In that case, we will move 1, 2, 3. Then BOSCO, going to come over here. Since we don't have access to this, and we definitely need to get over there, he's going to try to mine right there for us. And he was successful in connecting that. All right, event time, cave leech attack. Cave leech attacks you from above. Dwarves within attack range of your space each receive a free reaction attack against it, and by dwarves it means that. 1 hit needed. If it survives for rolling and suffer any damages as usual, if you roll that, you become stunned. So the cave leech tries to attack us. He is within range, has line of sight to us, so he's going to shoot. And successful. And with that 1 hit, dead before it gets to suck our brains out. We should have put a hat on, but I guess then the smoke would collect too much. Who knows? But we survived that. So now back to our 3 actions. First action is going to be move, 1, 2, 3. Second action is going to seem a lot like that. 1, 2, reveal this. And third action is to get on that. So we've got that. We know what those 2 are, so that means we need to get there for sure. Then our next action is just going to be to move there. Then BOSCO is going to try to open that spot up. And then move. So he's got a good line of sight on that spot, which he's happy about. Then rapid spitballer growth. Place a spitballer on empty ground, space 1 to 3 spaces from the drop pod, or from where the drop pod will return if not present. All other creatures activate. And I think he's going to want to be 3 spaces away. So 1, 2, 3, as close as he can get to our dwarf. So we've seen an exploder. Now this spitball infector. Range of 5. I'm sorry, 5 health. Range of 7. Doesn't move. Once he's defeated, we get to roll a rock and stone card, and resistant to a lot of things. Alright, let's see what kind of nice text he's got. Tough plant-like enemy. It's immobile since it's rooted to the floor. Fires acidic mortar globs by swelling up and spewing them at the nearest dwarf, possibly knocking him over. Alright. So that's going to cause a problem when we go to leave. So for our first action, we're going to try mining there. And we are successful. Then our second action, we're going to place our zip line. Then our third action, and movement just cost 1 for our first one, so 1 and 2. That's going to be your turn. Then for this guy, 1, 2, 3, and then, well, yeah, we can't really even hurt it. So in that case, we're not going to do anything. All right, next event. They're closing in, increase swarm threat by 1. If this didn't trigger a swarm, activate all creatures. It doesn't have line of sight to us, so nothing happens. Seems very uneventful right now, but believe me, that's going to be a problem very soon when we try. Basically, I'm going to try running out this direction. Get behind these so he doesn't have line of sight to us. That's my plan. All right, so we're down here. We're going mining. Action 1. Action 2 is going to be to move. Action 3, oh yes. We got 1. So that was our 3 actions. Then we're going to move him up here, and he's going to do some mining of his own. Okay. I hate bugs. Place a grunt at exit 1. All creatures activate. So the grunt goes there. Doesn't have, well, the grunts activate first. Or the grunt, 1, 2, 3. And the spitball infector does not have line of sight to us. But he's looking. So back to our turn. Let's see, 1, 2, 3. So moving when you're adjacent to a monster, unless the card says otherwise, doesn't trigger anything bad. So 1, 2, 3. Then our second action is going to be movement next to there. Step on it for 2. Then over here for 3. And then 1, 2, 3. We're just going to move 1 so that we are not in line of sight because those things are protecting us. So we've kind of gotten fortunate like on cardboard. We really haven't been attacked, so things are going a bit smooth. Now this is the starter mission. I have played this one other time, and it didn't go as easy. I took a whooping, but I still got out of the place. So I learned movement is very important. So now he's going to look and attack. We can do it with the axe. It's actually got a better chance of hitting. And then 1, 2, 3. They're closing in. Increase swarm by 1. See, I just spoke about how easy it was. If this didn't trigger a swarm, activate all creatures, but it is triggering the swarm. All I have to say about that is I hate bugs. So we've got the creature pileup. So when the next swarm activates, we discard this and draw 2, but we place everything first. So they're going to come in, and then all creatures are going to activate. So the first card is look up, place a Mactera spawn at exit 1, and 3 grunts at exit 2. So that little guy goes there. And then we get 3 grunts at exit 2. And then they got protection. Who place a warden and then 1 Mactera spawn at exit 2. Place a grunt at all other exits. And they want to go as close to us as they can get. Well, they also go adjacent to where they can. So we got to see some monsters come out just to watch us run. But we will take a look at what just happened. We've got the spawn and then the warden. So the spawn, 2 health, range of 3. So he can shoot from where he's at, can move 3, double resistance here. So even if we rolled that, we couldn't hurt him. And a resistance to the yellow die. Then the warden has health of 2, range of 3, movement of 3, resistance to the yellow and black. He doesn't attack though. He throws up a shield for all other creatures within a range of 3. So for the spawn, can fly over obstacles, including stalagmites, but can't end its movement on them. This creature has a dangerous spit attack with a stun ability that reduces the target's action points to 1 on their next turn. And that's why we're leaving this turn. But here's the warden. When he activates, it moves towards the nearest creature. If after its movement the warden is more than 3 spaces away from the nearest creature, place a grunt next to the warden on the empty space nearest to a dwarf. The warden has no attack, but generates a protective shield around creatures within 3 spaces of its location. The shield cancels 2 damage per attack. When the warden is killed during an attack, its protective shield disintegrates and the creature it's protecting immediately loses the associated protective bonus. I did confirm online that it is not intended for his shield to protect himself. So if you can get around him, you can take him out first. So when dealing damage to multiple creatures at the same time, including the warden, you may damage the warden first, as long as it is not further away from you than the other targets. And I did forget, once we got all those things, the drop ship magically reappeared. So that is open, but should have used my last action to drop the shield, would have been the smarter thing to do. So I should have, instead of moving 1 space, I should have just dropped that. But I didn't. The things you learn. All right, so now everything's going to activate. And they activate in their order, and they want to attack first, and if they can't hit you, they move. They don't do both. So that grunt is 1 away, so it's going to move right there and be done. These 1, 2, 3. They're not using the zip line, so basically it's like they're crawling along the sides of the walls when they move. So 1, 2, and 1, 2, 3. So that's all the grunts. Then we move to the spawn. That one has line of sight to us, so he's not moving. He's spitting on us, which is kind of nasty. So we've got hits doing the damage, and for that symbol, that stuns us. And that's what happened. So we get the stun token next to your dwarf. You may only carry out one action on your next turn. Remove the token at the end of your turn. Note, if you're both knocked over and stunned, you won't have enough actions to get back on your feet. So we got the stun token. This one cannot get to us, so he's got the movement of 3. 1, 2, 3. And the warden just wants to get close to some friends and put your shield out. Everything within 3 of him is shielded. And now it's back to our turn. So we only have one action. And fortunately for us, 1, 2, 3 gets us back to our drop ship. So once all the dwarves, in this case 1, gets back to the drop ship with our objectives done, and that's the only way this thing comes back, the mission's over. So we were successful with that. We did leave a big mess on the board, and we're also making the assumption Bosco flies away to safety at the end. So this game can be played off in just one-off scenarios, or you can go through a mission and go straight from one mission to the next. When you do that, you don't auto-heal and refill everything. Everything's going to stay in the same state. We're going to lose all the minerals we got. The only thing we can do for what they call the deep dive campaign. Attempting campaign is risky since you'll be playing all the missions consecutively without returning to the space rig to rest. This means you have to make do with any equipment you come across during missions. Players carry over their current health, ammo, rock and stone cards, throwables, and overclocked secondary weapons to the next mission. Nothing gets restocked except character-specific tokens as the engineer's platforms and the gunner's zip lines. You're allowed to keep any weapon upgrades you found. Each dwarf may choose to discard one or more weapon upgrades to fully replenish their own health, or to allow themselves or another dwarf to fully reload. Unspent gold and nitra are discarded. They are shipped back to management along with the rest of the cargo. For each gold discarded this way, give 1 health, ammo, throwable, or rock and stone card to any dwarf. Players collectively decide, but handing out throwables and rock and stone cards is limited to 1 of each type per dwarf, so we could potentially get more. But I think I'm spending that 1 gold to get some bullets back. So just finishing that up. If the mission is a success, but 1 or more dwarves are unconscious, the unconscious players will start the next mission with 1 health, whatever equipment and ammo they had, and if 1 mission fails, the deep dive campaign is abandoned. So that was the basics of how to play Deep Rock Galactic. Like I mentioned, I got fairly lucky, but you can see how quickly things can go bad if we would have had a longer scenario to go through. But as always, I hope you enjoyed this playthrough. So please click on the like button below and be sure to subscribe. Thanks for watching.